We're very much focused on taking practical action, running practical projects. So we're looking at car share, e-bike hire, cargo bike, and we've got two big projects we're running at the minute. One is to do with retrofits of houses, and the other is looking at running buses in and out to Glasgow. These are things that people can do. It's going to make their lives better. They don't actually realise necessarily that they're helping the climate. It's practical projects. So how can onshore renewable help us deliver that? Well, there's a number of ways. It could be practically through increased funding, but we maybe need to move away a little bit from the benevolent funding of community projects. We apply, you give us money, we run a project. I would like to see much more collaborative working and getting larger organisations to work, whether it's a joint venture or whether it's seconding somebody in, or as we mentioned here, maybe getting somebody half a day a week to work with our project, or somebody from our project to work with your company, to build projects that can actually deliver a lot for the communities. We talked about capacity building and talked about local communities burnout, and that's absolutely a risk that we've got in any smaller charities that are trying to deliver this. So the more support, and it might be things that you don't actually realise are that big a deal, that like having somebody come in secondment and just a bit of extra resource and a bit of maybe a sounding board, some of the commercial guys in your organisation speaking about how you run a project, how you make things successful, because we're all about delivering. It's all about delivery. And we just happen to be helping the climate at the same time.
The group was pretty sort of enthusiastic all around the table about the fact that we need to create sustainable jobs all throughout Scotland, supporting the sort of the onshore wind vision, both in terms of projects from the outset, engaging with school children. In fact, we actually established that school kids are much more informed than the rest of us in terms of that, but making sure that they've got pathways and they've got inspiration and vision to get into an industry that maybe isn't in there as a sort of number one choice for people. And that might be, that's all across the board. So, from your consultancy side to your turbine operation side, technicians and so on. So accessing that sort of early year support, linking in with education facilities, as well as sort of maybe doing direct internships and sort of support which developers and projects and community funds can offer is a really good way to access that. Something we didn't talk about, but maybe I'll put my tuppence worth in now, was actually sort of access to also groups that historically have struggled to get back into the workforce. So women in work who've had parents, who are parents and then have to sort of, come back into the workforce. That's something that we're trying to do, and I think we can accelerate that and upskill people who've not necessarily had access into the renewable industry, but maybe there are easier accesses into other industries. So, tying into that, we're in South Lanarkshire now, home of historic steel making, sort of heavy industries. Maybe that needs to be part of the just transition as well, so that it's not just direct involvement in the construction phase or the operations phase, but it's actually more fundamentally involved in the manufacturing of the kit that's going on these sites.
But lots to talk through. Clearly, I think sustainable opportunities. I think the big focus initially for us was education. It has to be done in a really smart way. We've touched on retraining, something that we're not very good at all the time in this country. Making sure that people can pivot and use transferable and adaptable skills, that being a really key point. We talked as well about diversity of opportunity as well, and the fact that so much has to be done to ensure that it's not just a certain subset of people that are benefiting from something, that opportunities are there for people throughout, and that's not just always gender, race, whatever else it can be from different backgrounds as well. We talked about the importance really there of the bigger picture as well, in terms of you've got to think about the big picture and the smaller cogs. I think when it comes to jobs, it's all very well. I think other people have touched on it. Think about these big, the 100 jobs here in part of a manufacturing or as part of a big thing, but it's all the little indirect jobs that benefit it as well. So policies have got to factor in how can we maximise those benefits as well. Linked to that, I guess, is improvements and opportunities for SMEs. That probably comes into the next part as well, which was confidence and pipeline. I think that was a really key point that we wanted to look at, having that confidence to invest. So the policy today being what that's all about really. It's giving companies like RJ McLeod the confidence to recruit graduates and apprentices, to work with suppliers, to give suppliers confidence, there'll obviously be the opportunities then for SMEs and making sure that it's everyone that's benefiting it. And then looking at ways to revitalise communities as well. We were talking about, through things like the community funds as well, they can spur on other jobs. They can get somebody into a line of work that they previously hadn't been in. That might then allow them to get into this industry and aim higher and higher, whereas previously they would have been left to rely on benefits or whatever else, or be in a difficult situation.